I want you to continue. I think you had a comment on that last question.
I just wanted to say that universities do fear audits, and they fear and are often more conservative than federal government regulations would require. And that's why I think Ms. Allison's suggestion or pledge to seek a meeting between the universities and the audit communities is so important, and I think she deserves our praise for leading that effort.
Thank you. And I want to thank you for your comments on the some of those comments on some of the provisions of the first act, and I know we had worked on the. You had been helpful with comments when we did the last NSF reauthorization bill, and I appreciate your work there, and especially also the fact I'm a Stanford graduate, and much appreciated. I wanted to focus on the Omni Circular, which is scheduled to be implemented at the end of this year. I'd like to get everyone's thoughts briefly on the Omni Circular. I mean, what are the areas in which it helps reduce administrative burdens the most, and does it address the leading concerns of the scientific community? What other issues remain unaddressed? So just sort of your a few comments, a couple comments from each of you on your on the Omni Circular and where you think this helps and where more might be done.
I'll be happy to address that. I've been very involved in looking at the uniform guidance and what the wins are for universities and what the areas are that we're most concerned about. The treatment of terminal pay as an indirect cost, which indirect costs are capped at our universities, will once again be another unfunded mandate. The manner in which we're going to have to compete our procurement actions that are $3,000 and above is going to be a significant burden and change for our institutions. And these are two examples of the types of changes in the uniform guidance that are going to require revision of systems and processes and policies that are outside of the purview of research administration offices. So, you know, at each of our institutions, we're working across our campus to try to come up with implementation strategies for our own institutions. And as we understand it, we are not even going to see the implementation plans for the agencies, besides the National Science Foundations, perhaps until the date that the uniform guidance goes into effect. So it's rather hard for us to plan and our own implementations when we don't know how those might be different among agencies.
Your Bienenstock?
There was one feature that I really liked, and that is the ability to charge administrative time that is directly linked to the research to the contract itself. That was the way we did things prior to about 1991, and it meant that that one could get administrative help locally. That's an extremely important change. Let me explain why we're so stressed out over effort reporting, and it's almost a question of integrity. That is, suppose I have 2 grants and a new technique comes out. Well, I've got to study that technique as a PI and spend a fair bit of time deciding it. Is it applicable to Grant A? Is it applicable to Grant B? Now, suppose it isn't applicable to either. On the one hand, it would have been negligent of me not to study it and see if it was applicable. But then how do I charge that time to the 2 grants? Or suppose it is applicable. How do I charge the time that I spend teaching a graduate student about it? Is that teaching or is that research? So you put a scientist in a situation where he and she must affirm in detail how time is spent, where one cannot do that with integrity. It's for that reason that we are so looking forward to the Inspector General's report on the payroll certification, with the hope, we expect that there will be difficulties, but we hope that the IGs and OMB and the university community will find a way of making that method meet our needs and meet the needs of the auditing community.
Thank you. I see I'm out of time. Yield back.